wherever you may come. I want to say good morning. Um, my daughter had on the shirt this morning that said, "Finally," Finally. I guess because today is Friday, her shirt said finally. Friday is the day that we prepare for the Sabbath. It's the day that the last day of the work week in this society. How you doing, Miss B? And what we do from there is that we get prepared for the Sabbath. I titled this video this morning, Excitement for Change and Forgetting the Transition. And I want you to think about this. I'm going to drop some stuff on you this morning. I told you that this month, starting tomorrow, our lesson is going to be on the various stories in the scriptures. You know, you read about different stories, and we sometimes in the Hebrew community we overlook these stories because we're concentrating on the excitement of embracing who we are, and the Sabbath, the feast days, and all of this stuff is really good for us to learn. But in the next few weeks, I'm going to be concentrating on the stories and what we can get from those stories, because they're there for a purpose. Whenever we have a story in the scripture, it's there for a purpose, and we can learn from it. We can really learn from these stories if we take the time to read them, look at what they are inferring, what they're trying to tell us, because they have a life lesson with it. I'm just gonna readjust this while I'm at a light. So we're gonna talk about that for a second. Let me share this story with you, and then you can understand the title. There were 10 lepers, and they could not be healed. They had a disease that, when you have leprosy back in those days, nobody really wanted to deal with you as a leper. Nobody wanted to touch you. Your clothing, you were put outside of the camp. You could not cohabitate. Good morning, Sister Tia. You could not cohabitate with other people. You just couldn't do it because the disease was considered, not only according to biblical law, but it was like a disease that nobody wanted anybody else within the community to be contaminated with. So you stayed in a particular area. People would bring food and leave it and walk away. They didn't see you. You didn't see them, and they didn't see you. You just knew at a certain time there were certain messages where somebody would say the food would be here at this time, and you would stay away. There was a mutual respect. People who had the disease, they were so much in torment, they would not have wished this upon their own worst enemy. So they also respected others. So they didn't go around them. They didn't try to contaminate them. They just basically stayed away. Once you were a leper, you were a leper, and that was it. And so we read that story in the scriptures where there were 10 lepers. Now I told you about what lepers go through. I want to get into the healing. And we know the story, we've read it a lots of times, where the 10 lepers came and they saw the Messiah. They heard about the Messiah. Uh, Maybe they heard about the Messiah beforehand, and they knew his healings were echoed and trumpeted throughout the whole region. That there's a man that's healing the sick, causing the lame to walk, the deaf to see, the deaf to hear, the blind to see, the lame to walk. This man that can perform miracles. Everybody had heard about him. And so when these lepers could only just hope that maybe perhaps one day they could come across him, be so fortunate to even come across him. And as life, and we read in the story, that opportunity came. And they saw the Messiah. And in fact, the Messiah healed them of their leprosy. Now check this out. We're going to get into what I titled this: Excitement for Change and Forgetting the Transition. Here's where I'm going to go at with this. These lepers were healed, and they were told, just go pay alms to the ministry. Go. And they all left with excitement. I mean, they were excited. They looked at their skin. Their skin is like brand new. They took off the clothing that covered them. They were like normal people. This was exciting. They're no longer plagued with a disease that would prohibit them from being around their family, their loved ones. They can now interact with the world now because they were cleansed of their leprosy. And that, in fact, is exciting. It's an exciting circumstance that, wow, I can now be normal again. Do you know what it's like, how exciting it is when you're not normal? Something in your life is not normal, and it changes your life, and that abnormality changes your lifestyle. What normal people do, you can't do. These people were excited. They were so excited, they could not wait to just go pay alms and make contact and let everybody know, I'm back. This man from Galilee healed me. It's true. He's a miracle worker. I can now be again with my family. I can now sit at the dinner table. Guess what? I can now go and pick up the kids. I can go to the market. I can go to the sanctuary. I can sit among the people. This is exciting. Maybe perhaps for months or for years, they were not able to do that. Maybe they weren't able to see their young ones grow up because they were a leper. We talked about Naaman being a leper the other day, and how he was an upright man, and he was a captain. He was well recognized and honored, but he was a leper. So all of that to say this, that these 10 lepers' life changed. And when their life changed, only one turned around. I want you to get the climax of the title now. Excitement for change and forgetting the transition. Only one leper out of 10, only one turned around to give thanks to the Most High. They all experienced the same excitement. they all received the same happiness, all at the same time. They all received the same joy, and all of them, their minds probably fast forwarded to what they now could do. And they all were excited about, I can't wait to go hug my spouse again, pick up the children again. I can't wait. Be normal again. I don't have to eat and let somebody drop off my food. All of them received the same excitement at the same time. Excitement for change, but only one turned around and did not forget about the transition. Why is that important? Because sometimes we in life, here's a life story now, we in life forget about when things turn around. We forget about, wait a minute, there was a struggle last year. So now that things are good, I'm not going to just forget about the transition, because we can get so excited about the change, we forget about the transition. And I believe that it's the transition that we can't forget about. It's the transition that we learn about the most. It's the transition. It's if we forget about the transition, then we get caught up in the excitement and we don't really appreciate what was really done, because you forget about the transition. So this one leper turned around and said, thank you. Wow. A few minutes ago, I could not hug anybody. Right now, I can. A few minutes ago, I didn't know when I was going to see my children, ever hold them again, ever come around them again. I'm counted off. I'm a walking dead person that is excluded from society. A few minutes ago, that's what I was, but now, look at me now. So this only one thought about the transition and said, thank you, thank you. Wow, thank you. And that's important. It's okay to be excited about the change, but don't forget the transition. Don't forget where the Almighty brought you from. Okay? Don't forget. You might get a raise on your job. You might get a promotion on your job. Your financial circumstances can increase. You can go from this salary to this salary overnight. Just like that. Okay? Don't forget about the train. Maybe you didn't have a car, and all of a sudden you haven't had a car. You've been catching the public transportation, waiting in the rain. You've been doing that most of your life, and then all of a sudden you get blessed with the car. Don't forget the transition. It's okay. You're excited. You got a car. You want to drive around the town. You want to go down the street. You want to go over Mama Nem's house. That's what we say up north, Mama Nem. You want to go see Mama. You want to go see your brothers. You want to show everybody the car. I'm riding in the car now. Check this out. But don't forget about the transition. Stop and look. And this is why people who don't forget the transition, when they get a car and they pass somebody on the bus stop that it's raining, they'll stop and say, come on, get in. Let me take you. Don't wait out here for the... Why? Because they know what it's like to be out there waiting on the bus stop for the bus to come and it's pouring down rain. And you got a little bitty old umbrella trying to stay dry. People who don't forget the transition will stop and say, come on, let me take you. It's hot. And you waiting for Uber. It's hot. You waiting for the bus. Got to go do groceries. And it's 90 degrees outside. People who don't forget the transition who are passing along the way will say, hey, come on, where you going at? Let me give you a ride down here. Because they know what it's like to sit there at a hot bus bench and they 15 minutes late and the bus is late. They're going to be late. And they said, man, it'd be so nice if somebody would just stop and give me a ride. When you were in that position and now you got the car, you won't forget. You're excited. But don't forget the transition. Remember the transition. Remember of how you transition from one situation to the next. This is powerful. That's why stories are so powerful to read in the Bible. I want to leave that with you today. Don't forget. Be excited about the change, but don't forget the transition. Peace. Shalom. We'll talk soon.